That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I am Sid Partu, and I'm all on my own today. We have a pretty good sized stack of comics, not huge, not small, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 comic books today, so we'll go ahead and do that. It'll be a nice even thumbnail. We'll start as always with the last thing I read, which is Star Wars Obiwan and Anakin number 2. So, like I said last time with this book, I wasn't quite sure about it. I mean, there was definitely some stuff in it that I enjoyed, but just overall, I didn't really care for it. And that's the same case here. What did I enjoy? It was the same thing I enjoyed last time. It was the stuff with Anakin and Palpatine, because I find that really interesting. But here, it's the stuff with Anakin and Palpatine that's really interesting, but it's like this much of the book, and then the rest of the book is Anakin and Obi-Wan dealing with some peoples. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you really like Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm sure you'd love this book. He's just okay. I'm nothing against Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's cool. He crawled out of a toilet once. But he's just not my guy, you know? So, like, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. After all, the book is called Obi-Wan and Anakin, so I really shouldn't expect any Palpatine for that matter. But what I really want is a Palpatine and Anakin book. Like, that would just be fascinating. Or just a Palpatine and Darth Vader book. Maybe it can take place while they're building the first Death Star. And they just discuss how they're gonna run the friggin' galaxy. Stuff like that. That's a hole in their relationship that I've always kind of wondered about, and I don't think anything's really gotten into very much. The Darth Vader book a little bit, but the whole seduction to the dark side thing for Anakin kind of that we have in the movies kind of indicates that the Emperor is lying to them and deluding him into thinking that he's always doing the right thing, that it's really peaceful. And that's fairly unique for dark side users. They're often after just power, not really saving multiple people besides themselves or the ones that they personally care about. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like, it's kind of different. So I'd be curious about that aspect of their relationship. But, Palpatine undermining the Jedi teachings is really interesting as well. There's just this great scene where he takes Anakin to the lower levels of Coruscant. And he says, let me read the line, and I'll do my best Darth Sidious voice. as rare as it is for Padawans to come down here, I believe it is even more unusual for one of these people to make it to the surface. Do you know the rarest resource on Coruscant, my boy? Sky. Down here, the sun is a myth. That's just cool. So he takes him down to the lower levels to kind of like show him the dark side of the city, and that's really creative because what he's trying to do is like he portrays himself as he's trying to help and guide these people, but this kind of like the seedy underbelly of all of Coruscant. So what he's really doing is trying to convince Anakin that the dark side is not like this horrible evil thing like people talk about it. There's good to it. He's trying to just subtly undermine things. I like that they don't have to have him like directly say, oh, well, some people just assume that anything dark is bad, but that's not always true. They're just he's subtly hinting at that. So that's what I really like about this book. The rest of the story, I don't really care. It's amazing how much I don't care. So yeah, there's your review of that one. Let's go ahead and take a drink of this red liquid. I'm Aquaman. Let's go ahead and go on to Faith number 1. This was a single issue requested by KC Liston down in the YouTube comments. And if you have any requests that you would like to make, please leave them in the comments below. You know who you are that I'm going to say this to. No offense, but I'm not doing the show for just one person. It's cool. Don't worry about it, but yeah. 1 or 2 books suggested per person, please. I'm not doing the show for one person. So anyway, Faith number 1. I wish I could say I enjoyed it. I did not. So obviously by the cover, there's a very big hint at what we're going to be getting, and it's exactly what you'd think by the cover. Which, I mean, to be fair, I don't know any of the history about this character. This is literally the first time I've ever heard of her. I assume that she's kind of loved from other books of hers, other books that she's been in. I don't have that. I have no context for this character whatsoever besides beyond the cover. And so what is this character from my perspective of being, just picking up this book? She is a husky female superhero that's into geeky shit. And so I can see why that would be appealing to people. I can see why people would like that and want to read about it, and why some people might even be inspired by it. For me, it's too gimmicky. Having a superhero with a different body type than, the supermodel with gigantic boobs thing, yeah, that's totally cool. I totally get that. But I think that's enough on its own. I don't think we... I'm getting dirty looks. I don't think we need to compound that with, this whole I'm also a geek that's into superheroes and read comic books thing. At that point, it just feels really, really gimmicky to me. And later on in the issue, she saves a bunch of puppies. And it's not like any of these scenes on their own I'd be kind of okay with, or think were fun. Like, what's this line she has when she stumbles on these guys? There are a bunch of guys stealing puppies, and she goes, "Puppy nappers? Why is this even a thing?" And that's funny, that's cool and everything, and she saves them, and, she's got some kind of telekinetic powers or whatever. But I don't know, there's just too much about this that's gimmicky, because she's making all these references to other superheroes, and like the superhero cliche of, oh, well, I'll be a reporter, and that way I'll be able to go and fight crime whenever something happens, and people won't wonder why I just ran off. But she's not able to be a reporter because journalism isn't really a thing anymore in LA, so she just does, basically BuzzFeed. And again, there's nothing wrong with that on its own. It's just compounding on all this other stuff that makes this book, to me at least, feel like too much of a gimmick. It really feels like it's just trying to grab a bunch of different things that people aren't doing and throw them all into one book. And so it's like, see, here's all these things that we've been missing. And that, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's too processed. It doesn't feel real enough. To me, at least. And once again, I have no idea who she is. Whatsoever. No context for this character at all. So, just seeing all those things, maybe those are parts of her character that develop naturally over time, or are well-grounded in her character that we've seen develop naturally over time because they indicate that she's been part of a team. But that's not a great way to sell, a first issue to other people. First, when you give a character their own book, certainly what you're doing is satisfying the fan base that's interested in that character and the properties they're involved in already. That's part of it. But another part of what you're doing is trying to bring new people into your readership and your universe by, oh, here's a #1 issue, so this should be enough on its own to get you interested. And so much of this is, I feel, dependent on me either really, really wanting these gimmicks in a comic book, or me wanting to know more about this character, wanting her to be on her own. None of it feels like it's marketed towards someone who just picked it up and wants to read it. And wants to read a good comic book. So, yeah, I didn't really care for this issue. There are a couple scenes here that I liked. But yeah, it really was not my thing. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and go on to Captain America, Sam Wilson, #6. And we have finished the Serpent Society story now. And this is, once again, I still think my favorite thing about this book are these catch-up pages. Also, the Obi-Wan book, horrible catch-up page. I like the idea of using the catch-up pages, your first page of the issue with Star Wars to be the opening title scroll, but it should feel like I'm reading the opening title scroll of a Star Wars movie, not the summary of a catch-up issue. It's not that hard. Do it right. So anyway, this is my favorite thing about this book. Just superhero Twitter feed is fucking awesome. Let me read the one from Dennis Dumphy. Let's say you're babysitting a bird guy for your favorite wolf guy, and the bird guy flies away to rescue the wolf guy. Are you still fired? I really like that. And then Misty Knight's really funny too. Okay, so anyway, Serpent Society's got Cap kind of paralyzed, and the one dude that had the Falcon DNA splicing thing go on is able to save him, but now they've got him all cornered. And this dude's just getting so over the top. It's awesome. The villain goes, I have a bone to pick with you, young man. Your entire generation, in fact. Millennials. God save us all. And he just goes on this huge rant about how, piracy and entitlement of the young generations and just, what is it? Piracy, illegal downloads, forcing large corporations to live under the heel of your all-you-can-eat subscription demands. Did you see Hulu's quarterlies? It's inhumane. That's really funny. It's also really poignant. So you basically just have the most libertarian-y, right-wingy, free business, invisible hand, the free market, whatever the fuck you want to call it, guy as your bad guy, and then you've got Captain America who's come out as like kind of a socialist dude, and they're mortal enemies locked in a battle in Wall Street. Talking heads are commenting on the battle as it goes on, and yada yada yada. The one thing I don't like about this character, Jaquin, is the eyes. Like, I like the idea of having him have, like, the falcon wings and stuff, and the talons. That's cool, especially with the reveal we get at the end here. I just don't like the look of his eyes. Maybe it's that whole, once you take someone's eyes away, they look less, and it's harder to relate to them as human. But yeah, I really don't like that. That's probably the thing that's bugging me the most about this issue. Or just this character design in general. It's just the eyes. They're meant to look like bird eyes, and they certainly do. It's just something about that makes his facial expressions and stuff look really, really odd. So anyway, the Serpent Society is defeated in this issue, and Sam Wilson goes to the corporate bosses that were funding the guys and hiring them out and everything. And he gives a really cool speech about how he's going to put them all away and everything. And then one of the guys goes, well, if you do that, you know, we're the biggest taxpayers. We're the ones that hire the most people in the entire country. So what will you be changing? And Sam has a really, really fascinating internal monologue. Too big to fail. Yeah, it's a thing. Problem is, he's probably right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Pretty much nobody likes these guys. Not even the people who vote them in that help them. Vote them in ways that help them. Nobody likes these guys, not even the people who vote in ways that help them. I'm sure if I brought them down, I'd look like I was taking a stand against greed and corruption. Might even be enough to get the public back on my side. But what about after that? When the layoffs hit? When the savings vanish? When the whole damn economy collapses? People would lose their homes, their jobs, their health care. That's not something Captain America can stop. But that doesn't mean I have to leave empty-handed. So he decided to take one of the guys, have the others buy up all his stock, and tell him that if anything goes wrong, he's coming right after them to take two until it's settled. Take two more and you know, indicating that he's going to keep coming back until this shit gets set right. It's a really, really complicated situation, and I do respect it for being that. The idea that change, as great as it would seem to be for immediate, drastic change of a system that's not, I don't want to say realistic, that's not, realistic. That's not realistic because there are immediate consequences that follow, and people are afraid of changing things. So, just there's a lot of really interesting stuff in that, and I really, really respected the issue for being smart enough to acknowledge that problem and not back away from dealing with those issues too, because Sam is of course worried that he'll be seen as a sellout for letting any of them go, but ultimately, and this is yet more commentary, it doesn't matter because pictures of when Sam went to the strip club to talk to Diamondback surface, and he's kind of like scandalized in the media, and people don't even pay attention to the one guy he brought in because it's not juicy enough. And then we're left with this scene where Jaquin becomes the new Falcon, and he's kind of got like a splicer thing going on for him now. I like the idea of him becoming the Falcon, but given that he's Hispanic, it's going to sound stupid, but given that he's Hispanic, I would have preferred him to take the name the Eagle. It would have worked well with American ideals, and given the Aztec origin of the Aztecs. Here's the brief version. The Aztecs were told to wander until they found an eagle perched on top of a cactus, and that is where they would build their city, and that's where Tenochtitlan was built. And so if you look at the Mexican flag, there's an eagle on a cactus, and that's why that's there. So I would have preferred the eagle, but it's okay because it makes sense for Captain America and the Falcon to be together. Though I'm curious if Sam Wilson's going to keep the wings or not. I mean, I would assume so, but whatever. 18 Days, number 8. So we get kind of like a look back again, and this book jumps around in time quite a bit to when all the characters we've been following were children. And they do like a really basic kid thing of someone steals a weapon from a warrior. You know, it's like when you're hanging out as kids and one kid comes up, it's like, I've got my dad's machete or I've got a baseball bat. Let's go into the woods and kill something, and it's going to show that we're men. And that's pretty much what goes on. They go to, you know, hunt down this demon because they have this mystical sword. And they're all talking about how, or what's his name? God, what's his name? Duradana? See, it doesn't even matter what his name is. I can't fucking pronounce it. I gotta get Steve on just to be my pronunciation. So, like, he's the guy who's basically the villain of the main book. He's kind of like bragging about how he's going to be the bravest and how everyone else is a coward for not wanting to come, and so he, you know, peer pressures them all into going. And then when they're faced with the demon, he hesitates and he's too scared to use the weapon that has any chance of killing the thing. So his cousin does, and, you know, briefly injures it, so it, like, moves away. And then the true owner of the sword shows up and kills the beast, regretfully so. And, you know, yells at Duradana for, you know, stealing the sword and then not even having the courage to use it. And tells Arjuna that he can keep the sword because he used it with courage and bravery in a manner fitting a super warrior. So we see where this divide between these two really has gone on since they were children, and that's really clever. Yeah, and it's just more insight and stuff than. As much as I'm enjoying that, the little bits of insight we get into each of these characters here and there, I do kind of want the main story to just plow on its own. Like, I really want to see just more of the war itself. Not necessarily just the battles, though that some more of that would be nice too, but just the interactions between one another as the war goes on, because 8 months is a long time, guys, for just one day of battle to be finished. So I really do hope we get more of the war itself next issue, and we get more into that. It's probably, it wouldn't be as big a problem if I were reading it all collected, but I'm not. So yeah. Batman Beyond, number 9. I'm not sure this makes any sense by the end. So yeah, Brother Eye's defeated after, you know, basically holding the world in absolute chaos for God knows how long. And, you know, all the greatest cities, except for Gotham, are completely destroyed. Metropolis is completely in ruin, like worse than No Man's Land was. And refugees from all over the country are rushing to Gotham because they're being told it's a Garden of Eden, and it's not. So Gotham's trying to keep them out because they don't even have enough resources for their own citizens. What are they supposed to do about refugees? Meanwhile, Matt has traveled to Metropolis for God knows why. And I guess what gets me about this is, you know, hold on, let me find the scene. Matt has Green Lantern's ring, but it takes off on him when he gets close to the old watchtower in Metropolis and goes and finds the Justice League. along with the, future Green Lantern. And that little speech bubble is, the Justice League is alive. Well, no, they weren't. They were very much cybernetic robot people that were, they're basically cyborg zombies. So how the hell they're alive is not gonna make sense, at least right now. Maybe there's an explanation, but we clearly saw in the other Batman Beyond stuff the Justice League was destroyed and had been turned into cybernetic zombie slaves. So what possible explanation they're going to have to make this work, I don't know. Really, no clue. Especially Green Lantern. Everyone else here, to one extent or another, has superpowers. Green Lantern does not. At all. I don't know. We'll see if it ends up making sense. And then we find out the big bad guy of the issue is Dr. Cuvier, who was the splicing scientist from that episode of Batman Beyond. And he's like collecting people somehow or another, or doing... He's up to no good in Metropolis, basically. But yeah. That's pretty much what I got. So I don't know how much sense it makes. It doesn't make any sense right now. I don't know how much sense it could possibly make going forward. But we'll see, I guess. That's sometimes the best you can do is we'll see. We got 3 issues to 1 year of this book. If I'm not actively enjoying it, as opposed to waiting for something I enjoy to happen by issue number 12 is going to be the last issue of this book I read. Man. I just wasted so much time with that crap with Brother Eye, and now they're just... I don't even know what they're doing. Batman Beyond is not this hard to write. Action Comics number 49. Oh wow, almost 50 issues of Action Comics. Now they're already going back to number 1s. What the shit? Yeah, so Action Comics. I like the idea of Superman putting himself in kryptonite in order to, get his powers back. That's pretty clever. Because apparently his cells have been poisoned, and that's why he was losing all his powers. So he puts himself in kryptonite to kind of, kill off the poison kind of thing. Not sure how much sense it makes, but it's clever. And he's able to get some of his powers back, but they're different because they're coming directly from the kryptonite. Vandal Savage is doing his whole thing. I just don't know how I feel about this big crossover with all the Superman books, so I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. I'm more interested in just the socialist Superman things. What's up with people kidnapping the Justice League and using them as a power source or some such shit? Why does that keep happening? Doesn't that seem like the worst possible power source ever? But yeah. Vandal Savage, I mean, he pulls a really cool move here at the end. He steals the Fortress of Solitude. I mean, that is some shit right there. Don't know how many people can say they have that feather in their cap, stealing the Fortress of Solitude. It's a pretty good cliffhanger, too. Still doesn't make me want to go pick up Superman Wonder Woman. But me reading a single issue of something that's tying in, and so I'm just waiting for that story arc to be over. I really, really like the Wrath stuff, and I know that kind of helped build into this, but I just don't care enough to be invested, so. I'm invested in one Superman book, which is one more than I've ever been before, so that should be good enough. Alright, that'll do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews. Yeah, no trade, I'm sorry about that, but if you have any suggestions for books you would like me to pick up and talk about, please leave them in the comments below. Graphic novels, I will keep an eye out for. Single issue ongoing series, I will promise to pick up at least one issue of. I will not promise to enjoy it, but that's okay. It's a review, not a recommendation. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Please like and share this video. You can follow me on Twitter if you didn't know that I had one. Sid Part 2 on there. Anything else? New episode of Geeky Gentleman. We got a special episode with one of the guests from Who Reviews the Reviewers coming on, so that will be fun. The return of I'll give you a subtle hint. It's the most subtle thing I could possibly think of. Someone else came on to talk about something with us. I don't know if you're getting my subtle hint, but someone else is on that episode. So hope people will enjoy and watch that. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm Sid Part 2. Bye.